Whew. All right, folks, we're learning something new. It's called a try and accept structure. In fact, while we're here, let me show you something. We've all had this problem happen where we do, say we're trying to ask for a number, n equals int, input, enter a number, and then when you accidentally just hit enter and it crashes. So today I'm going to show you how to make it so it doesn't crash. So there's a way, it's called try and accept. It's a way we can make our programs a little stronger so that if you type a word when you're supposed to type a number, it doesn't crash. So look up here, everybody. I just showed you this. When you crash, it's called an exception. I put that in quotes. An exception is just a fancy term for we crashed. And then the program stops running. The crash message actually tells you what's wrong. Look at this. It says value error, invalid literal for int with base 10, and it was empty. So it's basically saying you can't convert nothing into a number. That's what this int thing does, convert something to a number. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to do this. So everybody look up here. If we're trying to get a number from the user, one way to make sure it won't crash is to do a while true loop just for where you're trying to get the number. And then you do this thing like this. You say try, and then you ask for the number, but we also have this accept value error. And then I'm going to walk you through how this works. The while true means it'll keep going until they enter a number. Okay, that we know how to do a while true loop. Next, these two parts go together always, the word try and accept value error. And what that is, each one has a colon on the end, and they're indented. They're inside the while true loop. And then the try part runs first. And that's what it says. Basically, try to do this, but if you crash, go do this other thing. So instead of crashing, it'll print an error message. It'll say, hey, that's not valid, try again. And since we're in this loop, it'll keep running forever until you satisfy this until this line runs without crashing. And when this int line runs without crashing, it breaks out of the loop and you move on. So if you don't enter a number, it does the error message, and then it hops back up here to the start of the loop. And so in other words, this is try to get a number from the user, but if they enter something else, give them this error message, and then try to get a number from the user again. It's like a little loop. And this one I did again with a float. Remember we did floats when we did that mileage program? Here's an example that doesn't work. And the reason why is you will never get a value error if you're not using an int call. That whole the int in front of the input, that's what made it crash sometimes. You can enter anything on an input call, a number, or just hit enter without entering, or you could do text. But so this, you would never do this. You can't, if you were saying please type yes or no, you can't do a try except for that, because it doesn't, there's no way to do the accept on us just entering a piece of text. Here's one that checks to see, this is funny. There's an error in it. Better. Here's one that checks to make sure a number is positive. Do you guys know positive numbers are numbers greater than 0? Okay. So, oh, and look at this. I left off the int. Man, I was just totally out of control here. I don't know. Oh, it must have been my assistant who typed up the slide deck. I'm just kidding. I don't have an assistant. I'm going to fire my assistant. Okay, look. So this one, A equals int input. Please enter a positive number. And then it checks. Hey, if it's less than or equal to 0, then it gives this message. It needs to be positive. Please try again. Otherwise, it breaks. And then if you don't even enter a number, say you enter hello, it hops down here and says not valid. Sorry, please try again. So I'm going to ask you to do something like this, where it has two different error messages. One, if it's a number, but it's not, doesn't fit the requirements, and another if it's just not even a number. I forget if we're done. Yeah, here's another way to do the same thing. I don't know if I've taught you this command, the continue command. The continue command is a way in a loop to say, go back to the top of the loop. So technically, you don't really have to have the continue line, but this one was missing the int also. Anyway, here's another example, and that's it. So I'm going to stop the recording. I'm going to post the assignment.